internet, money, 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 money. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And I'm Shahir Dowd. Matt, do the good part. You've been practicing.
Oh, yes. Money! And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film Deepwater Horizon.
Definitely not the espionage film about the Watergate scandal, Deep Throat Horizon.
Also not the film about the comet Deep Impact Horizon.
We got anything else? That's the pornography film. The pornography film, Deep Throat.
Okay, Deep Throat Horizon. What
That's
about?
Have you noticed everything I got is basically?
No, I know.
Deep Throat.
What about Deep Event Horizon?
Not as cool.
But I'm not. It's not as porny.
Nope, stop.
Anywho,
you killed it.
We're talking about oil spills, Shahir.
Oil spills, oil slicks. That's how you describe our intro, right? Then it's an oil
just slick as shit, and you want it out of your hair.
No, I was going to say an oil spill.
Isn't that an oil spill?
A natural disaster of epic proportions is how we introduce the podcast every week.
Yeah, well,
welcome.
Yes, hi everyone. Glad you could make it. Shahir, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. We guys, we saw this movie together.
We held hands.
Which was weird because Robin, my girlfriend, brought us.
Yeah.
So it
was awkward for her, but I think she got the message halfway through and left. Sorry, Robin. I got your man.
Yuck. But yeah, so that's a rarity for us here at the only podcast about movies. We don't often, other than when we're watching a VOD thing, watch movies together anymore because our schedules are so wacky.
So busy. We're so important. People don't realize this about us. But if you do realize this about us, you can reach us by email. Did that segue make sense?
It would have if you didn't call it out. It was barely working, and then you just threw it off the rails. Just keep going.
You can reach us at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on our website, onlymoviepodcast.com. And
every time since this website's come out, Shahir's been so unsure of our website name.
It's like, well, it doesn't exactly exist. It's the only podcast movie website about movies podcast website. Or on Twitter at onlymoviepod. We get lots of fun requests and comments on Twitter and Facebook recently. I'm really enjoying those.
We've been doing some user requests as well. Listener requests. Listener requests. We've got a couple of really exciting ones coming up. Boyhood, the 3-hour epic. Hey, listeners, can someone request a film that I love that you think Shahir would hate? Because we got Drive, we just did Drive, and now Boyhood. I don't hate Boyhood, but I'm not looking forward to watching it.
I'm trying to think what's a movie you love that I would actually hate.
Final Fantasy Advent Children.
There are scenes from Final Fantasy Advent Children that I watch over and over again.
Oh, God damn it. I don't know.
I don't love the movie, but I like things.
I don't know. Guys, that's your homework for this week. In between
I can actually give you a hint. There's one movie that I did hate, and it stars Denzel Washington.
Book of Eli?
Nope.
Oh, damn it, because I love that movie.
And I'm not sure. I remember hating it at the movie.
Okay, so guys, do your homework. Just dig that up, figure out what Shahir will hate, and request it, and send it a lot. And please, if you have leftover stars just kicking around your house or apartment, or you want to get out of the hands of your kids before they eat them, give them to us on iTunes.
Problem.
I know.
Yeah.
Give it to us on iTunes. It doesn't really matter how many, as long as they're the amount of stars that A, you want to get rid of, and B, you feel we deserve.
There should also be 6 minus 1. Stars.
I can't do math. It's too early. So guys, Deepwater Horizon.
So we were very lucky to see this in an advanced screening.
Yes, Robin got us in. Thank you, darling.
What did you know about this movie before we walked into the theater?
I knew
because I don't watch trailers.
It had a kick-ass trailer, in my opinion.
I still haven't watched it.
Now, this is you know how we're always like, oh, trailers ruin it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not. This is like the Titanic. This is not the plot's not going to be ruined. You know what happens to Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah.
But the way the trailer, just so you know, Shahir, consisted a lot of the story of the little girl in the science project, which we'll get into that scene, and intercut with the things actually happening on the ship,
the Deep Throat Horizon.
Yeah.
Too soon?
Yeah.
Yep, too soon.
People died here. Let's keep it clean.
Keep it civil.
And then it was sort of her narrating the entire thing, and it was actually really I don't want to say moving, but effective. It worked in a sense of this is taking definitely not well-worn, but I remember the news stories about this forever, something I was very familiar with, and gave it sort of a breath of life where I was like, oh, I would really enjoy seeing this.
On the other hand, there's a swath of it's weird, and it has to do with Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg. They're sort of getting into they're coming up to the third film they're about to do based on recent real events, and there's an air to these films. I don't want to brush them and say they're exploitative, but they feel like they're kind of making an action movie out of a recent tragedy. And so what I'm talking about is there's Lone Survivor.
Which I haven't seen.
But, and this is just based on like the trailers, which I haven't seen the trailer for Deepwater Horizon, but the trailer...
I did see it for Lone Survivor.
I did see the trailer for Lone Survivor, and I was like, I'm not sure what the function of this movie is.
That's right. The only podcast about movies has not seen the film Lone Survivor we are talking about, but Shahir watched the trailer.
And I want to talk about it. And then, and here's the thing. Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg are just wrapping production on a film called Patriots Day, which is about the Boston bombing. So we've got a trifecta of films about recent tragedies
at the marathon.
At the marathon.
Wow.
So they're like, this is the third film, and there, there are the films I'm thinking about are Captain Phillips, World Trade Center, Zero Dark 30, 13 Hours, the Benghazi film, Snowden, United 93. There are films about recent tragedies.
But some of these didn't really like, and I think there's two camps.
Yeah.
There's the ones that turn these things into action movies. Mm-hmm. And then there's the ones that sort of just, for instance, this film, Deepwater Horizon, I don't think turns this tragedy into an action movie. It's a disaster movie.
Yeah. It's in the same way as the Towering Inferno.
Yeah. But like, you know what I mean? Like there's, how do I change it? Like I would almost say, and again, San Andreas, for instance, right? That's a disaster movie.
But it's not based on a real event.
No, but it's also crazy action movie, too. Like, there's a bunch of craziness in that film.
Well, obviously, you can't make Deepwater Horizon and turn it into an act.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think this one it lands on the side of all right in my book.
Well, here's the thing. And I know immediately that any comment that an actor says in a magazine can be misinterpreted, taken completely out of context, read in the wrong way. But Mark Wahlberg... was famously quoted recently in Men's Journal, of all places.
Ooh. Do you get Men's Journal?
I don't get Men's Journal. I just Google this. And he was called out for this, but he basically said, because he was supposedly booked on a flight on September 11th, and he didn't make that flight.
Sure.
One of the planes that went down. And his quote was, if I was on that plane with my kids, it wouldn't have gone down like it did. There would have been a lot of blood in the first class cabin, and there would have been me saying, okay, we're going to land somewhere safely. Don't worry. We certainly would have we certainly would have tried to do something to fight, he said in 2006. And he was famously called out for that. He was, and he apologized. And again, I understand, and I don't want to play too much, I don't want to take something an actor says in a magazine too seriously, because these actors are basically... they do these press junkets, they do these interviews like on a daily basis. So like you can say something that's slipping. God knows I've said so much dumb shit on this podcast that could be taken.
Oh, you're not running for office.
Yeah. But could be entirely taken out of context. Yeah. But I wonder.
Hey, Tyrus, I love your beard. Say hi to your mother for me.
I wonder if these three films that he's been doing with Peter Berg, where he ostensibly plays the guy who saves the day in some way, is like addresses that comment and the backlash against that comment. Now I know it's a little bit of a reach and it's a little bit far, but there's something to the way, the kind of person that would say that comment.
Right. Okay. So here's my take on that. Is Mark Wahlberg is someone who, how do I put it? I have written in my notes, I'm like, is Mark Wahlberg good
as an actor?
Yes.
Here's the thing.
But hold on. Let me just finish my thought. And I don't know, but I think he's good. And follow me down this rabbit hole in the same style that Jeff Goldblum is good.
Goldblum's great.
But this is what I'm saying. Jeff Goldblum plays Jeff Goldblum in every movie. Jeff Goldblum's, right? He does.
Sometimes
he does.
I think as an actor gets older, they can kind of fall into being typecast.
Anyway, but this is Mark Wahlberg plays Mark Wahlberg in every film he Mark Wahlbergs. No matter what the character is, even in I fucking dislike a lot the last Transformers movie, but he's like, I was born in Texas, and it's like, shut the fuck up.
Isn't he a scientist in that movie?
No, he's a mechanic.
He's an inventor.
He's an inventor.
Yeah.
So, and then here it's supposed to take place in Louisiana, and he doesn't have an accent. Like, no one cares what Mark Wahlberg's sort of character is as long as he Mark Wahlberg's everything. See, and the flip side of that coin is I never mind it.
Right. Yeah. If you like Mark Wahlberg.
So is it just like a raw charisma type thing?
So here's my thing with Mark Wahlberg. I think he's not an actor that I love particularly as an actor. We're discounting personality, his actual personality. Sure. As an actor, he's not a screen presence I particularly love, but I think he's very dependable. And here's the thing. I listed down the movies of his that I really like. I love him in Boogie Nights. I love him in The Big Hit. Do you remember that? Do you remember that movie where he plays a hitman in a cartoonish
kind of.
It's a really zany comedy from the late 90s.
Sure.
I love him in Basketball Diaries, and I love him in Pain and Gain. So
I need to see Pain and Gain.
So what I think is I either like and then controversially, I dislike him and I couldn't take him seriously in The Departed. So the thing is, I love Mark Wahlberg when he's playing a big doofus or he's all coked up. Those are basically
two modes for you.
Yeah, those are the two modes of him that I like. I find, and as a screen presence, like even in a movie like The Fighter, I think you put him up against Christian Bale, who's doing his best method-y sort of acting mode, and Mark Wahlberg. It's not that he gets lost, but he doesn't take the spotlight. And sometimes, actually, that's a really good talent to have.
Yeah, is he flour? Man. Do you get what I'm saying? Is he just the thing that's in everything that you can mix with everything and it kind of makes everything better, but if you can't just eat flour by itself?
Yeah, he's a
I would not go see Mark Wahlberg's one-man show.
Right, but and that's what these films are. This
film had Kurt Russell in it, man. So you can't do that.
Yeah, I didn't even know Kurt Russell was in this movie. And have you seen the poster for this movie, the Deepwater Horizon?
Oh, it's just like him. He looks like Batman in it.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg in the smoke. So there's the Mark Wahlberg factor, and then there's this idea of recent tragedies turned into films, and
I don't think this one. Some of them I think are exploitive. I don't think this is one of them.
I don't know if it's exploitative, but the question that I ask a lot of the time is, what function does this movie serve? Because if we're just bringing awareness to the story, there's two sides to this coin. If you're bringing awareness to the story and you want people to know what happened, a documentary, for example, would be a better avenue to giving people information, giving people more nuanced information.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
but it wouldn't reach as many people.
A feature film like this with a movie star in it reaches more people.
See, this, I feel like Peter Berg. Actually, Robin coined the term of he's America's film director at this point.
Right. Lone Survivor, this, and Patriots Day.
But and sorry, Michael Bay, your crown's being taken because you're too busy with destroying Ninja Turtles and Transformers. Hasbro's got your balls, Michael Bay.
I think Michael Bay is capable of greatness. But
I do too, but he just doesn't do it.
Yeah, I'm always as much as I don't like Michael Bay's movies, I'm always astounded by Michael Bay.
I like his directing style when he applies it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Peter Berg.
So it's almost like
who Peter Berg reminds me of?
Who?
Jean Favreau, but a slightly worse Jean Favreau.
Is it Favreau or Favreau?
Fabs, whatever you want to call him.
Okay, let's call him Fabs. We're close.
Yeah, I think that's what he likes his nickname to be, Fabs. But Peter Berg is also he's become a real mainstay of American cinema these days. He's a very prolific producer. He produced the movie we talked about a few weeks ago, Hello, High Water. Produced Bloodline, Ballers. Attached to a lot of movies.
I like this. Here's why I can't
prolific.
speak. Yeah, I can't speak to Lone Survivor, and I can't speak to some of his other works that based on actual events because I haven't seen as many.
I liked Very Bad Things, the first film he directed.
Oh yeah, that was good.
And I kind of liked Hancock a little bit. I like
that Hancock flies off the rails and then is like, "Yup, we're gone. Yeehaw!"
Yeah, the second half of Hancock.
But I appreciate a film that goes off the rails and then doesn't like completely and utterly tank itself, and also is like, "Fuck you. If you're coming on this ride, great. If not, then go away." His films, while they might be sort of what's the word I'm looking for? They definitely have something to say. Now, is that thing exploitive or not? Like, for instance, let's just kind of keep it to this film. Mm-hmm. I mean, throughout this entire movie, and we all knew this based on the news if you watched it, but BP is the bad guy.
That's the weird thing. That's what I do want to talk about that a little bit. In that, what is your knowledge of this event?
So when this hit, I had was this the year I took off? I think this was the year between high school and college. This was 2010. No, this is 2010. Oh, then no, then this is not the year. I'm not that young.
How old are you?
When this happened, sorry, my brain is mush. When this happened, I remember seeing the stories, and I remember mostly though, I don't remember the story of the actual, like I didn't know the nuances of like, oh, this was actually a different company that BP was renting the thing from, and they were building the wells. It wasn't an active well, and
Transocean is the company that owns the Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah. But the thing I knew the most about was the stuff that happens after the film.
Yeah, we mostly know
the cleanup and the nightmare of capping this well.
Yeah, and we mostly know about the ecological disaster that the Deepwater Horizon spill caused.
And back then, if I was looking for a bad guy in the news story, it was still also BP as well.
Right.
Now, if I'm look,
and the one thing the film doesn't address is BP's accountability in this story.
Right, which I don't think and that's something I appreciate and kind of miss, because I understand this is a story about survival and the crew of the Deepwater Horizon and not necessarily the aftermath of it.
Right.
And that's fine, but I didn't know the nuance of it, obviously. And I was personally in this film, I was fascinated by the nuance of it all. Yeah. Like what everyone's specific jobs were and how the actual, I think the film did a great job of,
well, let's talk about our first impressions.
Well, this kind of is rolling into it. Yeah. I really liked the way technical things were either shown or explained. Mm-hmm. Now, they showed a lot of CG underwater pipeline drill sort of nonsense stuff, some of which was good, some of which was not good.
Yeah.
But I never was for a thing as complicated mm-hmm. as drilling the deepest well underwater in human history. Mm-hmm. I was not confused ever by the basics, like A to B to C, what was going on. Yeah, I don't fully understand the technology behind it, but I know what a negative pressure test is now.
You didn't know what a cement test was?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So when they're going through all the technical jargon, I think the film does a really good job of keeping you on board.
Yeah.
And building a sense of suspense. And I think all the actors in the film and the direction too, I mean, was definitely good. I mean, Mark Wahlberg we kind of covered. Everyone else felt right to me. Mm-hmm. Kurt Russell, I don't think he's ever done a thing I haven't liked, even back when he was doing like hokey stuff. And now, you know, he's obviously older, and God, I would kill for an Escape from Space movie for him as like old Snake Plissken, but that's never gonna happen.
There's a tear rolling down your eye.
It is. Yeah, I don't know. I really dug it. I think the most important thing was that everything was believable to me. Like, you know, even with BP being almost the cartoonish bad guys in the way, like, but like that made sense to both my lizard brain and my logical brain of like, oh, this is a corporation that's obsessed with money, as our song dictated in the beginning. Of course, they're going to try to cut corners.
And now, played by John Malkovich, oddly doing his best Con Air impersonation.
I know. And now, granted, you could look at this from both sides of the coin in real life. Like, for instance, they were 43 days late.
Yeah,
with the creation of this well, and to no one's fault. Again, they called this the well from hell. There was millions of small problems, as I'm sure when you're drilling 3 miles beneath the ocean you can run into.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you think? Or just overall?
So I want to divorce motivation and, you know, like that question I asked in the movie, what function does this film serve, from staging and technical ability. This film is very well staged. There's like you say, there's no point at which I'm confused. I am I'm generally with the film as it depicts the horrors of being aboard a floating submarine, a floating ship that is on fire and with nowhere to run. And I think one of the things, like every film that is ostensibly a disaster film needs to introduce, well, it doesn't need to introduce, but what I like is that when a disaster film introduces an element that I hadn't really considered in a disaster. And the one thing that this film really introduces, the notion of exploding glass. And the idea that glass being exploded is a dangerous projectile.
Well, something that, and this is sort of one of my final first impressions, if you will, the explosions and the chaos caused by the explosions in this film are perfect. Like the look of them and whatever, but the feeling that invokes from the explosions in this, other action movies or other disaster movies, they don't feel like this.
Yeah.
There's something, and maybe it's the confinedness of it, and maybe it's sort of the feeling that everyone's trapped as well. But like, I wish other action or any sort of explosions in any types of movies felt as visceral as this.
It's tough. It's a tough thing to do though, because this film is very specifically about one event and a few characters. And what I like about that is that we can get into that nitty gritty about what happens if a crane falls or what happens when a pipe explodes nearby someone and that sort of thing. And then, I think what you're talking about is that in Transformers, when an entire city falls,
no one gives a shit.
Like it's like nobody's cut by glass or anything like that. And you can't ask a movie like Transformers to do that. But it would be really nice.
I think you can, man.
It would be nice if they did. And so I like that about this movie, and I again, like most of the empty pleasures of Transformers or Man of Steel or whatever, this has a real visceral sense to it. Now, that said, I was always curious as to, again, what the function of this movie is. Now, obviously, it's very easy to say that the function of this movie is to highlight the human tragedy of what happened aboard the Deepwater Horizon.
I think that might be part of it, but I don't think that's the reason.
I think that is the reason, because the movie completely disregards to me, the Deepwater Horizon tragedy had three prongs to it. And the first prong, the one that I know most about, is the ecological disaster.
Yeah.
The second prong is the failure of modern capitalism to hold those accountable that should be held accountable. And then the third is the human tragedy. And I think through news media, we know about the ecological side of it. We know about the failure of large scale capitalism, in the fact that BP, I think, which at some point in this movie is stated to be a $126 billion company, was fined eventually $53 billion. But that's not going to shut BP down.
No.
And there's a lot of questions swirling around. Should BP, how accountable should BP be for this? BPB. This film really paints BP as the villain, and I'm
down to trying to distract people with safety awards.
Yeah, exactly. I don't.
It's like Snidely Whiplash there.
I don't know enough about the case to make that call or to really side one way or the other. I'm sure there are people who are more versed in corporate law that would know that. And if you do, please write us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Nice little plug there. See that? Should have plugged it like the well. Anyway, moving on.
Oh my God.
But the side we don't see is the human tragedy. Now, I didn't feel the weight of the human tragedy because the choice to follow Mike Williams, the character that Mark Wahlberg plays. Mike Williams is a major part of the New York Times article that was written about this, and he's also
all the characters are real people.
But what this film does at the very end of it, and spoilers, I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but at the very end of it, it spends a lot of time showing us the 11 people that died on the Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get a sense of knowing who those people were to feel the weight of that tragedy. Instead, what I got, and where the film is the weakest to me, is this fairly conventional, now that's not to say it's not true, but fairly conventional wife at home, family man who's got everything to lose on this ship, but doesn't. Which is his family at home,
sure,
and his child, who does this this horrible exposition moment at the beginning of the film with the Coke bottle and the honey.
I think it's awesome.
Really? I thought that was just so hokey. And I
liked it a lot.
I really didn't like that.
We'll get into it.
I thought it was so hokey, and I thought the way that they kind of like zoomed in ominously as the Coke exploded at the end was just so on the nose that I couldn't stand it.
But the thing with being on the nose with a movie like this is you know exactly what's happening anyway, so there's no spoiler, so I don't care if it's on the nose.
That's clearly a writer's invention at that point, right? Like, it's clearly a writer's invention.
But it's one that works in the world. I don't know.
It doesn't work in the world for me, and it's clearly, you can see exactly what they're doing there. There's no obfuscation of what the intention of that scene
but
is.
I think it was clever enough for me where I was like, I like that. Yeah.
Oh God. To me, it was like it was setting up exactly what the film was about to the point where it was like, hey, this thing's gonna happen, and here's exactly.
But you already know it's gonna happen, so you're not ruining anything. Exactly. I think it works really nice. I think it's a nice sort of character moment at home.
A counterpoint to that is a film like United 93, which tries to avoid explaining exactly the mechanics of how to deal with a tragedy like 9/11 from an operational standpoint, and just throws you into it. And I buy that more, and I feel more engaged in that. Whereas this, I found that scene to be just really, I was like, you could literally cut this scene out of the movie, and I don't think it would lose anything.
I liked it. I think because it serves sort of to.
Why'd you like it? Just so you know,
kind of like what I just said, but I'll say it again. I do feel like it encapsulates sort of the entire thing, and it doesn't ruin anything for me because is it
giving you information you don't know?
No, but I don't need it. This is a section. This particularly the whole movie is not really giving me information that I don't know, other than the names of the victims at the end that I don't remember. You don't remember them.
You don't remember who they are in the movie.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, this whole movie isn't about giving me information I don't know.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I liked it. Now, granted, I will give you this. I don't like the trope of Kate Hudson waiting at home and the worried wife and bullshit, because that's been going since the beginning of time.
And again, it's not that that's not true.
Sure. But it's an action movie trope that I'm sick of.
Yeah.
But what saved that for me was this moment with the daughter. Now, yes, 100% it's a writer's device, and it's someone being like, I'm clever. And but
you know exactly what it's doing.
Yes. But that doesn't ruin this for me. I know exactly what's happening, macro, not micro, throughout this entire movie.
Yeah.
I knew before I sat down. So for them to do a clever sort of like it's not a twist. What's the word I'm looking for? A half analogy sort of thing, and have it go and make sense from the angle of a child's science project. I really liked that, because it's like, oh, here's a way this information is being told to me in a different way than I would have done this directly. Now, granted, again, it's not telling me anything new, but none of the movie is. So again, I'm fine with it. And I liked the scene. And I'm hoping I'm not tainted by the trailer, because I think I go back at some point here and watch the trailer. Right. The way they intercut that with the actual actions of the film, I think probably is done better. It
works really well as a trailer moment.
And maybe that's why I think it's okay in this.
Yeah, I just found that scene generally to be a little eye rolling.
I liked it, and again, I don't know if I'm a sucker for dinosaurs, but I like the little kid take on what an oil rig does. Like,
tames the monster,
my dad tames the dinosaurs. That's a fucking cool line, and it's a cool line based in a world that's very realistic, and it still makes sense. And I think that's why I liked it. But I get why you don't. I did. But let's get into straight up spoilers at this point.
I think we. But just before we do that, I think
always one more.
But because I don't think we kind of addressed the main thrust of what I'm talking about, which is that I don't. I did enjoy the staging of this movie, and I think Peter Berg does a really good job of staging.
He's got a steady hand with that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's very, very good at that. But I don't understand what the function, what this movie does in terms of bringing this tragedy to light, because it seems to be the main function of this film is to highlight that 11 people died on that boat.
I don't think it is.
I think it is.
Because they don't focus on those people till the end, so I don't know if that's the point.
But then what else is the film doing? Because by showing us the onboard tragedy, we should be focused on the people that either lost their lives, or we should get to know who those people are at least, so that we feel the weight of what happened.
Right.
At the end of it, I kind of walk away going, man, it was really sucks to be on that boat, but I'm really glad that Mark Wahlberg was on it because he would have saved me.
Here's what I took away from it.
Yeah.
And I think might be the point, because I don't think it's about the 11 people, because the 11 people aren't really characters and we just see them at the end, and it's a nice it's a nice tribute, but I don't think it's what the film's about. Also, it's a tragedy turned disaster movie sort of thing with Mark Wahlberg, who is an action star, whether you like it or not, like, you know, as the lead going around and saving people. And maybe Mike Williams did do that as well in real life. But this is my thing. I think its point. I can't tell you what the filmmaker wanted, but I can tell you what it did for me and why I feel like it had a point. Mm-hmm. It highlighted for me a tragedy that had kind of washed away in my mind for a bit, and it also got me really thinking about how we are able to live the type of lives we do. And I know this is sort of a bigger thing than the movie's trying to do, but it does show, like, oh, by the way, the reason that you have lights on, the reason that you have a refrigerator, the reason that we can record this podcast, and the reason, listeners, that you can listen to it is because men and women go do incredibly difficult jobs that are dangerous as fuck to help get the fuel that powers all this shit. The reason you can drive your car, you know, like, and that to me, I was like, fuck, like, I don't think about that shit ever, and I should, and I feel like I should be a little bit more grateful due to that. And something like this that is wrapped in a very action disastery, you know, package did get me thinking, especially because how visceral it felt. I was like, oh fuck, like, real people put their lives on the line so I can play Destiny.
Right.
Like, and that's fucked up.
Yeah. So that to me is what the film did for me, and I think why I had such a positive response. I don't know if that's the point they were going for. Yeah, that's a really good response, and I think you highlighted something that I didn't think about during the movie. But I also think I didn't think about it because I don't think that's what the film is talking about.
Maybe it's not, but that's what it hit me in that spot.
Right. Oh, that's great, and I'm glad that it did. I personally don't feel like the film is addressing that issue. Like, to me, what the film is addressing is the way in which we forego basic human safety for profit. And you know,
I think that that's definitely in there too.
And the outcome of that is the death of these 11 people. But again, I don't think the film does a good job of saying who these 11 people are. There's one character, one of the crane operators goes on and saves a bunch of people's lives by moving a crane.
Yep.
And he loses his life. And he's one of the characters that loses his life, but we don't know who this person is other than like one or two lines from him. And the other 11 people that died on the boat, I don't know when they lost their lives. I don't know who they are.
I guess it'd be the other 10.
Yeah,
he was the 11th or whatever.
Yeah, but do you remember that one person is the only person I can recall dying?
No, because the only characters they spend time with are Mark Wahlberg, Kurt Russell, Gina Rodriguez, John Malkovich, and Kate Hudson.
Yeah, and so with that kind of with those characters in mind, I think the focus of those characters is the way in which safety is foregone for profitability, you know, and the thing about John Malkovich's character is John Malkovich is great. I like John Malkovich a lot. I love seeing him in movies. I wish there was another being John Malkovich-ish type film.
No, I feel like if they did, it would be bad.
Or with another actor or something like that. But he's great. I love him. His Louisiana businessman, Creole kind of talking capitalist. And he's playing a character, Vidrine, who was actually prosecuted for but had the charges dropped. Is the classic bad guy of the movie. He's like,
he logics his way into skipping safety tests in the film, so it's like,
gentlemen, it's the bladder effect. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's an awful Creole accent, by the way. I'm not going to even try.
I don't even know what that accent was, but in truth, apparently, the bladder effect was actually proposed to that character by Transocean staff. So it's obviously he's been manufactured into this villainous point of view. He's an antagonist in the film.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think a film like United 93, directed by Paul Greengrass, doesn't do. That it doesn't like set up these like heavy antagonists. Even when
I think in that situation we know very clearly who the antagonists are.
But main characters are the terrorists aboard those planes, but they don't feel like the film doesn't like play into the hands of like these people are pure evil. It just shows them trying to do what they're trying to do. Whereas John Malkovich, you have to agree, in this film is playing the villain. He is the villain of the piece.
But I guess I don't have an issue with that because of A, the framework of the film, but then also B, if this might be my bias is showing, if I'm going to say who I think's at fault, it's going to be the people that I think would make the most money by cutting the most corners.
So from my basic understanding of reading what happened with Vadrine was that he was actually calling corporate headquarters and asking the same questions. And so it wasn't like he was the one on the boat trying to like.
Sure, but I wonder whose call it was in the end to keep going. It was probably BP, in my opinion.
It's probably BP, but is it this person? I don't know.
But I don't need to see corporate structure making a bunch of calls and him doing it. If they can turn, if it's a quotes, air quotes, historical moment, right? And it was super complicated dealing with a bunch of moving parts of a corporation. In a film like this, I don't care that it's boiled down to one character. Even if it does borderline cartoonish evil.
Yeah.
But like I get it.
I find that kind of simplicity occasionally I think films need it. And I find it in this one seemed to be shorthand for something that I'm not sure what the film is.
I liked it as shorthand because I liked they spent a little more time on things I was more interested in than corporate structure, being like how these oil rigs and drills function.
To me, again, that's the thing that is most interesting in the film to me, the most interesting thing was the engineering feat of trying to drill oil at that level. I think that is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I think seeing that kind of technical acumen and the degree in which that people have to be both engineers and
kind of grunts at the same time.
And grunts at the same time is really fascinating.
So Mark Wahlberg's character plays an engineer. He plays the chief engineer trying to basically keep this dilapidated this ship that hasn't been brought in for repairs in forever, like floating. He's keeping it together with like chewing gum and duct tape at this point.
So again, I think all of that stuff is really interesting. I don't think Mark Wahlberg's family story is that interesting.
No, it's
I
not.
don't think
it's a typical wife on the phone with her hand to her mouth.
Yeah, and I don't think the give me your eyes thing, and
I hated that.
Yeah, I found in the same way I found the stuff with his kid and explaining the cocoa thing. I don't like that.
I like it.
I just didn't think it served any function. I would have been happier if this film had really, again, in a way, played like Paul Greengrass does in United 93. I think we underestimate how powerful United 93 was as a film in retelling what happened and the tragedy without ever kind of like dipping into action film tropes and into slightly exploitational
Well,
territory.
here's the deal.
This film is better than exploitation, but it gets very, very close.
Here's the deal, though. Do you think more eyes will come across Deepwater Horizon than United 93?
I don't know.
United 93 came out closer to the tragedy, I think, than this did. But here's my thing.
But I think United. Okay, so eyes or not, I think United 93 is a much better film.
That's fine, but again, it's that how much sugar you're going to take with your medicine to get people to like. Do you know what? Like, you can't count on people to be like, "Oh, this is good for me. I'm going to eat my vegetables." Like, not everyone's like that. I think this movie does.
I don't think United 93 is Eat My Vegetables movie.
But what I'm saying is, because it is a skilled film in the way it was telling a story and not pandering in any way, right?
Yeah, that's.
But this is the thing.
I feel like this film gets dangerously close to pandering.
No, this film panders. Yeah. Deepwater Horizon panders, but this is my caveat: it panders the right amount.
Panda.
What was it?
Panda.
Panda?
Panda.
I don't know why you're saying panda.
Oh, you don't know the Designer song?
No.
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
We're gonna go out with that song. By the way,
great.
We're gonna go out with Panda.
But no, I think this movie panders the correct amount because it will get the people that are there for the actual like deeper meaning of the film in the seats, and it will also get people that are looking for a disaster movie in the seats.
But what is the deeper meaning of the film?
I mean, for me, I told you what I think it is.
And again, I don't think that that's in the film. I'm glad that you took that away.
And maybe the film lucked into that for me, but that's all what I take away from it. The other thing is, it's remembering a tragedy.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it rides that knife's edge for me, where if it went too far one way or too far the other, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
Right.
But again, I get it.
I agree with that as well. Like, there's that point I was making earlier is I want to divorce motivation from staging. I think it's very well staged, and I enjoyed the ride.
Right.
But I do think there's just this question mark I have in my brain about why am I on this ride?
Yeah, I guess it was entertaining enough for me that I didn't care.
And that's the point that I get a little uncomfortable.
It can be entertaining.
That's the point where I get a little uncomfortable because again, do I want, like, for example, Peter Berg is about to make the film about the Boston Marathon bombings. Do I want that to be entertaining?
No,
I don't know if I want that to be entertaining.
That one, for whatever reason, I hope that one's closer to United 93 than this one. This one I'm fine with the Razor's Edge it rode because I mean all the things I just said. But I don't know about the other one if I'd like it to be like that. I think Peter Bergs is a good enough director where he can take one style for one thing and do another style for another thing. I mean, still within his wheelhouse, but like this. I don't know. Like I said, I just think it rides the edge very, very well.
It does, and I also agree with your point that cinema has a function of entertainment, and if it does educate through entertainment, that's great. But entertainment should be its primary goal. I just think that when you're doing a film like this, there should be a lot of thought plus to why you're doing it.
I know. Well, yes and no, but also. I think what this movie does correct, and while it doesn't focus on the 11 people that died, it does pay homage and give reverence to them, even though it's at the end and whatever. And something I really liked, but
it feels like it does that in a sort of documentary way that's tacked on to the end of the movie.
But I feel like if they didn't do it, then they
have to do it.
But their liberties they took in the beginning and making it more of a disaster film, popcorny thing would not have been okay with me.
Right, absolutely.
It's this balancing act they're doing till the very end. Another thing, and I know we're not really going through because I feel like everyone sort of knows what happens on the Deepwater Horizon. We don't need to go structure like beat by beat by beat throughout this review like we normally sort of do.
Yeah.
But the thing that works really well for me, I'd like to talk about, is the ending. Mm-hmm. Now, there's some great moments, before then when shit hits the fan and they, all the tests come back negative and whatever, and they come back and then all of a sudden shit starts blowing up and the way it happens and the mud starts rushing up and then the methane gas gets ignited by the engines running the thing and then the whole fireball and blah, blah, blah. And people are getting off the boats. And of course the BP fucking people leave early and leave Kurt Russell, who's Mr. Jimmy.
Mr. Jimmy.
They leave him along with Mark Wahlberg and Gina Rodriguez, who did great, I think, as well.
Yep.
And they at the end, Mark Wahlberg and Gina Rodriguez are like on that platform.
Mark Wahlberg has his action hero moment.
But this is the great. Can I talk about this for a second? This felt like I was like, oh fuck you. This is going into dangerous action. Setting this up. They're on the helipad. They're the only two people left on the thing, and Mark Wahlberg's trying to convince Gina Rodriguez to jump off over the flames. They climb up higher so they can get over the burning oil in the water, and she's not having it.
Yeah.
Now this is the kind of moment where I was waiting for like a speech, like a real speech, and I didn't want it to happen. I was like, fuck, they're going to action movie the shit out of this. Mark Wahlberg in this moment does some very non-action hero things. He tries to convince her, like, he's like talking her through it about the car you see didn't start in like the beginning of the movie. Like, you got the Mustang, we're going to fix it up, we're going to do that. And then she freaks out. She's like, don't touch me, don't touch me. He's like, fine. Well, if you don't jump, then I'm not going. And then she doesn't move. And then he's like, fine, I'm going. Like, there's a lot of like broken, like there's like 3 or 4 methods you would have seen normally, like taking one of those topics and giving a big speech and then they jump in an action movie. This felt so real to me because he kept trying things that didn't work and it felt so scatterbrained that you would be in that moment. And finally he just like combines them all and grabs her and he fucking pushes her off this thing. And that to me, I was so happy it played out the way that it did because it felt like an actual moment and not Mark Wahlberg being Superman. Now it's a Superman moment, but the words around it aren't like, you and I were going to get out of here and I'm going to see my daughter and you're going to fix that car. We're going to fix that car. And then like they like jump. Yeah. It was so
I agree.
hectic.
It rides the line. It's very, very close to an action. Like the speech happens in that scene.
But it breaks every time. The speech doesn't work. That's my point. The speech, he tries 3 or 4 speeches and doesn't get past the first line.
Yeah. No, it's very skillfully done. Again, I kind of wonder about the underlying motivation of this moment.
It's a crescendo moment in a disaster movie.
Yeah, and I liked the scene afterwards when he goes back to the hotel.
It's so good. That's the part I really want to talk about.
It reminded me a lot of the scene in Captain Phillips when Tom Hanks is basically rescued by or is taken in to be viewed by ER workers. And he just breaks down.
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg breaks down. He's like a shell by the time he gets back. Even when he sees his family for the first time in the hotel room, he's just a ball of human on the floor weeping.
Yeah. And I like that. Again, I'm not sure why we're there, but I do like that. It's everything you're saying is correct.
It kept me out of Superman territory.
Yeah, everything you're saying is correct, which is that this film does a really nice line of writing that edge.
Yes.
I still feel like perhaps a more, not a thoughtful filmmaker, but I think a more thought out reason for doing this movie, like a reason.
Perhaps a New Zealand filmmaker, Shahir?
Not this New Zealand filmmaker. I wouldn't know where to begin.
I wasn't saying you conceited little bastard. I was just saying you love New Zealand filmmakers.
Well, of course I do. You love American filmmakers. Do we ever qualify that?
Yeah, but I love all filmmakers equally.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
I have a fucking region-free DVD player, motherfucker. We're watching a movie on it soon.
Qualified. Region-free DVD player. That is how you know you like international cinema.
Yes.
And we'll just go into my final thoughts.
Yeah,
I'm
please.
sure you've got more to say about this. I do, again, divorcing motivation from staging. I think this is a very well-staged film. I think Peter Berg demonstrates his capacity for handling larger-scale stories very well here. And I think for the most part, it does a good job of giving us reason to watch this film. However, I do wonder what those reasons are, and I think they're a little bit muddled, a little bit unclear. And I think the film, it doesn't really, it simplifies the problematic reason for this event happening down to one character, and I don't think that is fair. And
down to a company, because his lackeys do help in that situation. The BP lackeys distract Mr. Jimmy and do all this other
But it doesn't. It feels a little bit simplified because everyone on that, we're all complicit in the damage we do to the environment, and one of the things that this film doesn't really address, and it's not that the film has to address it, but the film this issue of who is accountable for what happened on that boat. On that floating vessel is a complex issue, and there's a lot to negotiate there. And I don't think the film really, the film simplifies that down to a few things. And again, like you say, cinema as entertainment. So this kind of fictional cinema as entertainment with action movie stars like Mark Wahlberg have a primary function of entertainment. So, am I asking too much to go there? I do think a film like United 93 does a better job of that. And a film like United 93 feels much more thoughtful about what its intentions are. But that's not to say that I don't think this, again, this film made me think about an event that I hadn't thought about in a long time.
Should people go see it?
Yes, I think people should go see that.
I agree. I liked this movie a lot more than I thought I would going in. Again, we talked about the Mark Wahlberg equation, and it's I'm never ooh, a Mark Wahlberg film. I want to see that. I'm always, when I see it, it's oh, Mark Wahlberg's in this film. Okay.
I would love to see producers on a wall, trying to cast the movie going, can someone please bring out the Mark Wahlberg equation? Let's see.
It's what's the factorial everyone is okay when they see him. They're just not going to go look for him.
Yeah.
I think for all of its action bluster, it does keep the world very real. That's not to discount anything you said about simplifying villainous things. I do think the movie does that. I'm okay with it in the equation of the entire film. The acting, directing, sound, and most of all, I think the VFX are on point. There's a couple shaky moments here and there, and some of the writing dips here, for that give me those eyes moments too. But I think how do I put it? I think everyone should see this movie, and not only because I think it's a good film, but because it does, like I said before, remind us that a ton of hard work and danger goes into giving us our cushy lives. And I don't know, you're right, I don't think the movie's trying to tell us that, but it fucking kicked me in the teeth and reminded me of that. And I think, we wouldn't have the lives we do if it wasn't for the incredible hard work of a trillion people that work hard, super crazy every day, putting their lives at risk and sometimes dying. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's a better than expected film, and I would really like to put my stamp on it and endorse it. So that's
the Matt Kroll stamp of approval.
Mm-hmm. So that this has been the only podcast about Deepwater Deepwater Horizon.
I would like to bring back a section that I've been calling the Criterion Collection very quickly at the end of this episode.
What an apt transition, Shahir.
Just a film that's based on a true story that I think is wonderfully told. That's available on the Criterion Collection on Hulu, and that is The Battle of Algiers by Giulio Pontecorvo, a film about the insurgent resistance in Algiers against occupying French forces. It's an amazing. It does the thing that this film does best, which for the entirety of it, which was the feel of having a documentary story being told through fictional cinema. It feels like a documentary, but it's not, and it's a powerful depiction of what guerrilla warfare is, and just because of the way that film treats a true story and the way in which that film also gives us a clear sense of what these filmmakers are trying to do, I think that's a film worth visiting in the context of Deepwater Horizon.
Okay.
So there you go. My Criterion.
I want to do the gaming garage or whatever and say, go pick up the BioShock collection for 1, 2, and Infinite because there's water and plane crashes and burning water. So that ties in with my thing. We can all have sections, Shahir.
I think you have a whole section. It's called the Movie Podcast.
Anyway. Shahir, when you're not shoehorning your own cinematic agenda into things, where can folks find you?
You can find me at shahirdaud.com. That's SHAHIRDAUD.com. I know I say this every week. Robot music video coming soon. Also,
don't believe it. He posted a fake picture on Facebook, guys, of him color grading the thing. Yeah. It's not real.
I just got news today. It might be a little bit more delayed for reasons outside.
Really?
The music video is done.
Tell me some more.
But it might be a little bit delayed. Twitter and Facebook is all on there as well. Matt Kroll. Where can people find you?
You can find me at Matthew Kroll, M-A-T-T, I can't even spell my name, MATTHEWKROL.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Skeldra, 4, PREZ. Twitter is Emperor MSK, and you can also contact us
at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com, on our website, onlymoviepodcast.com, on Twitter at onlymoviepod, and on our Facebook page.
And give us stars.
Please review us on iTunes. It really helps us get ears on. People are writing in a lot to say how much they enjoy the podcast. We really appreciate that. If you want to, you can take those emails and just
copy and paste. Yes,
right into iTunes. It would really help us out.
Please, it would be awesome. And keep those requests coming. We are going to get to them when we can. We'll see you next week, guys.